Welcome to the Living Centred podcast, a podcast all about learning together how to live lives which are centred on Jesus. Everyone lives centred on something. Our goal is to learn together how every area of our lives, everything about who we are and how we live, can be increasingly oriented around Jesus and transformed by Jesus. He invites us to a rich and satisfying life, where the good news that he truly is enough changes everything about how we relate to God, ourselves, and the world. In each episode, a different person shares about what it's looking like for them to seek to centre their life on Jesus right now. As we hear their stories, we get to learn together and to encourage one another in what it means for Jesus to be at the centre of our lives. This is a journey we are all invited to, and a conversation we all get to be a part of. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, my name's Adrian, and it is so good to welcome you to this week's episode of the Living Centred podcast. It is my privilege to introduce today Debbie, who will be sharing this week. Debbie, it is good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Well, at this point, what I tend to do is to get you just to introduce yourself by just telling us a bit about yourself, and kind of obviously you can make that as big or as little as you want to, of just expressing something about who you are and what your life looks like at this point in time.
Okay, great. So my name is Debbie. I'm married to Vince. We've been married 41 years this year.
Amazing.
And we have 3 grown-up children and 5 grandchildren. We've been coming to Oasis for 23 years. I took early retirement from work to be at home with Vince, who is living with cancer. So life can be hard at times, but we take a day at a time and try and make the most of it.
Amazing. That's so helpful. And I'm sure we're going to dig into a bit more of how do you live kind of taking a day at a time. But
okay.
At this moment, I want to jump in then with the big question we ask each episode, which is, what does living centred on Jesus look like for you right now?
Okay, well, one thing I really struggle with is resting. I'm a doer and I like to be on the go all the time. But what I'm doing, I'm really trying to find times in the day where I'm just sitting, doing nothing, just resting, being still in that moment, and in that rest, reflecting on God's goodness and faithfulness to me while listening to some of my favourite worship songs. As well, I've been saying each morning, I am forgiven, which is something I've never done before, but by just simply speaking it out has brought freedom to me that I'm a child of God and I am forgiven. And one more thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be more proactive in doing a gratitude journal every day. So I want to be more thankful to Jesus for the little mundane daily things that happen in my life that can very easily be overlooked.
That is so helpful. And I think really practical of just 3 things there that you're seeking to do, that just helping you kind of seek to live centered on the wonder of who Jesus is and how he's wanting to define your life. And I guess in that you've spoken about spending moments of stillness, or that statement of just saying, yep, I'm forgiven, or lastly, that moment of being proactive of just saying, okay, what's the stuff I'm grateful for? They seem to be things that are helping you. I guess my question is, in that helping you, what does that look like?
So I think listening to worship music and podcasts in my rest moments, I feel like it really helps me to bring my thoughts back from things that would make me feel anxious or unable to rest. So I just listen to the words of encouragement and I allow Jesus to bring peace into my heart. Yeah. I'm also trying to start each day asking the Holy Spirit to help me just to be more like Jesus that day. And sometimes just going for a walk in the park. Amazing. Looking at nature and just seeing God in everything around me.
That's really good. Yeah. It's really good. How do you find that in terms of in seeing God in the kind of everyday around you? Like, how do you get to recognize that, rather than I can find sometimes that when I'm walking around, I suddenly become more aware of the thoughts going in my head and getting consumed by that.
Yeah, I think what I do when I sort of go for a walk, I'm looking at the ground, looking at the leaves, the stones. I look at the trees, I'm looking for birds' nests, just little things that may not seem important, but just show to me, you know, how amazing God is. Wow. Just water and the ducks on the water, and, oh no, I forgot to bring some bread to feed the ducks. I'll do that next time. Little silly things, really, but I just love to do it. And
it sounds great. Just seeing nature.
Yeah.
And that pointing to the Creator.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
I guess my question then is, right, that's the stuff that's helping you as you seek to live centered, is what are you discovering through this in respect to who God is as Father, Son and Spirit? Okay,
yeah. So I'm actually realising that it's okay to just sit and do nothing and to be silent. In the past, I would have felt really guilty about doing that and thinking, I've got to clean the house, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Yeah. But I'm learning how important it is for me to pause. And obviously I pause, send to continue. It's becoming more real to me.
No, that's so helpful.
I've said it so many times over the last 2 or 3 years, but it's becoming real to me now. And I'm trying to make it more a part of my day, even if it's just 5 minutes, right, just pause, centre, right, I'm ready to carry on. And it's in the season that we're living in with Vince and the cancer, I started to get a bit overwhelmed with what's going on. And then anxiety sort of gets the better of me. And I know that is not what Jesus wants for me. So another thing that I'm discovering, which I'm not very good at, I'm getting better, is it's okay to say no to things. Yeah. So whether that's, you know, it's accepting I can't do everything, I can't see everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm making sure that my diary isn't full of doing stuff. And I'm really sort of discovering actually how freeing that is for me.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I think is something that you do see in the life of Jesus.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He's one who was looking to share of who he was, serving others. But he's also one who knew what it was to have those moments of, actually, you know what, I don't just want to give out. I'm also looking, I need moments where I receive like sharing and being vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah.
And seeking to ensure that he's protecting. He wasn't just saying yes to everything.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's taken me years, to be honest, to get to this. So I'm enjoying those just rest moments. And sometimes saying no to something or to somebody is quite hard because I feel like I don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
But sometimes I have to for my own mental health.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to do that. But it's really good. I'm really sort of enjoying just those moments of rest and stillness.
It sounds great. And it sounds like my last question is always like how are you changing? But it feels like that's some of it.
It is, because I think 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been having times of silence and rest. It just wasn't a part of who I am. But as I'm doing it more, I'm seeing the benefits of it. And I just feel like I'm getting close to Jesus through doing that and starting to understand who I am and that I can be me. Yeah. And I'm just enjoying that.
Yeah, so, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good. That I think it's that wonderful reality that Jesus is interesting in us just being who we're meant to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And that then everything we then do flows out of that place.
It does, yeah. And that's what I'm discovering. That's what I'm learning, and it's great.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I know for me, I'm going to be considering actually 2 things this week out of what you've shared. I'm going to be leaning a bit more into stillness again, something that's popped up a couple of times in people talking in these conversations on this podcast. Yeah. And just, I am making more time for silence, but I think particularly when I feel like there's more and more pressure to do, actually the invitation just simply be is so important and just gives perspective from the other. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to be taking. The second one was picking up on that statement that you're declaring each morning of, I am forgiven. And I think I just want to just contemplate that a bit and think, okay, yeah, there are so many different statements that Jesus proclaims over us, that Jesus affords us through the identity he gives us. And I just want to kind of just consider that and think, oh yeah, what's one that I want to really get hold of at this point in time?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so that's me. How about you, my listening friends? What is it that struck you from all that Debbie shared that you're going to be considering? Lastly, thank you for listening. And I pray you would know more of the wonder of living centered on Jesus this coming week.
Thanks for joining us on this week's episode of the Living Centered podcast. New episodes are released every Monday, and if you enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe on your chosen podcast provider to receive them direct each week. Living Centered is produced by the team at Oasis Church in Birmingham, UK, and you can find out more and get in touch with the team via theoasischurch.com.